Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NLC. We're going into our second game of the evening, Tricked versus Granit. We've seen an expecting game from the last one. Jamada, are we thinking more of the same here?
Yes. there is no further answer necessary. I think, Granit, they didn't have a great cross-division portion of their time here in the regular split. Now, do I want to stomp? No, I think, Granit, they have their very clear, player win conditions. I think if they can actually supply Babro with enough resources and space in some of these team fights, he can pull off. Hezero has done a really great job on some of these bruisers. And of course, we typically do speak about Indecision as well as being, a relatively large vocal portion of this Granit roster. But something's just not clicked throughout that cross-division play. They entered cross-division at 3-3, and I don't think they picked up a single win. So something's got to change on there, and I think for Tricked, this is going to be another, sort of business as usual day, unless Granit actually give them something to work with.
I mean, Muta did halfway across the split retire.
Of course, yes.
Didn't have the motivation.
So there is.
So if something didn't click, it's because they brought in a new member mid play as well. But I do agree to some extent. It has sometimes felt like Babro or a bust sometimes. But I mean, there's still time for it. Like, we've seen all these players shine on individual occasions. Indecision, Hezero even, where there has been some shining lights. But problem for them is they're going up against Tricked, and Tricked still very much one of the stronger teams of this division.
Absolutely. Tricked have looked very, very good, and they're going to be looking to continue that form. But the joy of seeing a game like the one we just saw, and these two teams being like, we watched that game too. We don't like poke. So Nidalee and Jace both off the table, Karma, Fresh, and Akali, all are regulars on that ban list, and Noxon as well, increasingly. But there's still a couple of champions that have made their way through, Gwen maybe being the most notable.
I think there's a lot here. There's not only Gwen, there's also the Lulu Sensao, there's also the Set Diana. There's a lot of these combos we talk about that they're just up for the taking here. So obviously, if Trick first picks the Sensao, you're not going to first pick the Lulu on the side of Granit. You're going to have to do something different. I'm still very much looking for that Set Diana combo. We've seen it a lot in the other more Eastern countries, but I do feel it's very easy to execute, and one of those things that a lot of ERL's teams would benefit of having in their arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Diana set fits Granit as a, sort of a play style very, very well. I think the other option as a 1-2 here, also Viego plus Lulu. I know it's typically, it's typically an answer to Xin when you used to see Xin Karma. Obviously, Karma in this occasion is banned, so I'm expecting one of those two rotations. There's the first half of the puzzle. We'll see if we get that second in the Viego, but yeah, still does leave out the Diana as well. We'll have to see whether we see all three of those champions on the same composition. But, still 15 seconds for Granit to decide exactly what they want to do.
Plenty open to them. And as you mentioned, there are plenty of power picks outside those lanes. Lisa and Renekton also very flexible ones that could go anywhere, basically. And you get that flexibility. Set is also pretty flexible because with Senna being available, could go down into that bot side as well.
Well, it's also the fact that this Lulu doesn't necessarily have to be a solo laner. Like, we talk about a lot about the bot lane as well, and this could easily be a weak side Lulu Kochmo. If that's what you're looking into, you can still very much play for the top side of the map. Kochmo is in this spot where he's not as useless as he used to be in the past, specifically not with the tank build either. But Trick, now, we know they favored the Lucian. We know it's one of their favorite picks as well, but it's actually just going to be a Viego coming through. It might be a bit of a takeaway at the same time, since they saw Lulu on the other end of the map, but it does mean they have a huge AD department here. Gwen obviously would make up for that, and it seems kind of spoiled if we were to get all this on one composition.
Yeah, Gwen, Viego, Xin Zhao, B1 through 3. I don't think that's a terrible place to be seeing out of the first rotation. We'll see if they swap back to it. I mean, my guess would be yes, but they want to lock in a bottom laner. I think that also makes a fair bit of sense, but, like we've mentioned, they are going to be lacking a bit of AP on the top side, and Granit, they have an opportunity to ban away a couple of champions, but at the end of the day, we know Zin's in the jungle, Viego's gonna go in one of the solo lanes. It's pretty hard to ban out top lane and mid laner AP lock-ins here.
So here's the thing, either you go for a solo laner here, you want to pair up, so you just know you have a strong side of the map, or you let the Lulu flex stay open, or you go for the AD carry here before the second ban phase. And it is just going to be the AD carry. So junglers right now from the side of Granit is probably what we can be expected to be taken away by Tricked in this second ban phase.
I mean, there's a possibility of Tristana moving towards the mid lane as well, potentially, if they want to go for that Kog'Maw. It's still on the table as an opportunity. But yeah, there's still plenty of powerful champions that could be looked to be banned away. I'm looking at supports as well because Tricked haven't grabbed theirs yet. And there's a couple of champs in that role that you don't really want to see on the Rift, and Nautilus potentially one of them.
Tricked lacking a little bit of like true hard engage. Obviously, you've got the Chains of Corruption. It's a little more of a sort of long committal. Sometimes Varus has to get in the way to find those ultimates. So I like to take away from Granit. We might also see something like the Leona as well, just along that sort of same line of trying to make sure that Tricked have as limited of options in terms of starting out fights on their terms. And for Tricked, honestly, probably just junglers. I don't think there's any reason for them to not ban out things like the Diana and other meta picks, or something like the Volibear that can get aggressive in these lanes early on.
But even then, if you remove some of these power picks, there's always going to be the Alistar. There's always going to be the Rail.
Yeah,
like, it's not like you're going to be running out of engaged champions. So for Granit, I think Leona and Nautilus probably the most easiest champions to pilot down in this bot side, and some of the harder one to go against just because of how much target CC they have. I expect that to be the kind of bans we'll see from them. But no, they're actually just going to go for the Braum themselves, which could mean they're opting in for a fourth pick, Leona here themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I think when you see that Braum ban, that signals straight up they want the Leona, or they want an Alistar, or they want a very aggressive lock-in. I actually think, because it's Wixo, Alistar R4 here, when you remove away the Braum, the Leona's the only other like engaged spot up, you're opting in for a pretty positive matchup there. So that's going to be at least my read for the R4. And with Leona gone, I think it kind of just leaves that up as the highest sort of priority support pick for Wixo in particular. And he's loved it throughout the early stages of the split. So let's see exactly what they want to go down. And then for Tricked, support pool kind of limited now.
It is, but you can always just put that Gragas down there if you want to go Gragas into the Alistar, of course.
Yeah.
There's also the Rail matchup. You still can handshake with the Alistar as well. But if you go for the Diana here, or just on in general, you're just giving away that support for free here. And I don't know if that's because we're already looking at one of the supports right now from Granit, where they're just like, well, we've already shown our bot lane is actually the jungler we're just waiting to pick here.
As we said, Lulu and Set can both go down into that bot side if they're looking for a support, so they might have just got rid of stuff and baited Tricked into banning away that Leona, but we'll have to see what Tricked decide to round out their composition with. They also need a support because Xin Zhao and Viego, not support champions. Syndra also unlikely to go down there, so probably going towards that mid lane, but yeah, they now have the opportunity to take that Alistar if they want it.
It's a tough call. It's a tough call. I think Granit, you know, a lot of nice flexibility in their composition, but where exactly are they going to land them? What are the lane matchups actually going to look like? Because right now, Tricked are running some pretty strong laners across the board. Rel is going to be the answer. So I guess from this point, you know, we're looking at Set mid, probably Lulu and the Tristana bot with the on top. So this is just indecision's pick, I think, outright. I don't think we're going to see Set support Lulu mid or anything crazy like that.
It's just quite curious why you wouldn't pick your jungler before. You already know the matchup. You could have said counter pick for a solo lane here, but I mean, maybe we'll get smarter now. And they're saving the Kindred here instead for the engage to come through. In some sort of way, it does make some sense. You can play for some of these extended team fights. You have an Ornn with the setup. You have a Lulu. That means that you're going to get more value out of a double AD carry. And you are going to deter some of this poke, or not poke, but one-shot capabilities for Trick. But the problem is right now that there is still the Varus poke. There is still the possibility of splitting a fight completely with the Xin Zhao ultimates, where you just knock people out of the Kindred respite as well. But I can definitely see what Granit are trying to go for here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the context of locking in Kindred R4, it starts to make a little more sense, but it's still very curious. You know, Trick now effectively have, at least to me, on paper, 3 sort of 2.5 winning lanes, depends on how you want to look at the mid lane matchup, and what should be a relatively lopsided jungle matchup, because Xin Zhao loves to jump onto Kindred. Kindred, depending on the rune set from Xin Zhao, can't really escape that kind of engage a lot of the time. She does just eat the knockup or she has to flash. So I'm a bit concerned for Granit's early game. I think if they can make it through, they've got solid scaling options, but that's the thing for me. Tricked have been such a consistent early game team when it comes to executing. That has been Tricked's MO since they've been in the NLC.
And it's been tricky for teams in the NLC to get to that late stage to put all of their money into a late game win condition. And Granit, they've definitely done that. So it's going to be a question of whether they can weather the storm of Tricked. And it's going to be Orcs and Hitbrain taking us through the second game of the day. So take it away, lads.
I actually want to get your thoughts on this, Orcs. What are you making of these team comps? What are you liking here? I'm seeing, you know, I've seen a mixture of things, and I can't actually quite place my finger on what I like and what I dislike. So I'm going to let you decide for me.
Yeah, I feel like Granit are kind of leaning into this sort of, you know, they'll have strength in team fights. They've got great engage, great backline, two strong carries you would hope in the later stage of the game. But the thing is, the problem I see with it is that when we sort of is getting there, you know, is the early game of this team isn't going to be ideal because you have, you know, the Viego who's going to be able to free scale against the Ornn. You've got the bot lane where they have a lot of engaged threat onto this 2v2 against the Tristan and Lulu. And then this is Xin Zhao who's so powerful in the early game and can run away with that. So like, if Granit can get to the later stages without being in a deficit, that's fine. But, you know, they have a Kindred. Kindred can't just opt out of the early game and be like, it's cool, I'll just farm, because you need to be getting stacks. And I don't think there's necessarily the setup here to do so. I'm not a big fan of Lulu support. I much prefer Lulu in a solo lane simply because by not having one of these sort of strong, aggressive supports that we see all the time, it's very hard for you to really have an impact when you're roaming to assist your jungler. And I feel like this game is going to start with a lot of momentum from Tricked. Granit are going to be trying to put out fires, and then it's just going to overwhelm them. And when we get to the later stages, it won't even matter that Granit have like a strong 5v5.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, but it doesn't look like we have loaded through, and it's definitely going to be on Trick to play this game proactively, because, you know, if they do sit on their laurels, it's worrying, because Granit's team, you know, as we do get later into the game, is going to be, you know, pretty strong. But if you just put them behind, it's going to be really hard for them to come, you know, back into this game. And like you said, you're looking down all of the lanes that Trick have. Tricks, they should really just pull themselves ahead here. So we'll keep our eyes on Taxa and what he's going to be able to do on this Xin Zhao. He's kind of who I'm tracking here. As wow, interesting. Trick have the longest average game time at 31 minutes, while Galaxy Racer remain at the shortest. Not the Galaxy Racer are playing, but even so.
We'll see if Trick can beat that time in this game. I think another thing as well as the short range of Granit is a little bit of a concern. Now, this would be a big problem if you didn't have as many engage tools, but you're up against things like the Varus, and the Varus can just harass poke. And the thing is as well, is like, it's very, as we talked about last game, it's hard to dodge that Varus poke. And if he hits it on any of the critical members, like if you hit a good bit of Varus poke on a Babe Roar, you know, this is a 2-threat team composition. This is another concern as this team goes late, because you can look at this comp and say, okay, they're good in team fights. That means they scale well. But I think one of the issues with this team composition is they have a very limited damage profile. They have 2 carries. They're both AD. And on top of that, both of those, you know, they are relatively short range. So we can have a scenario where, you know, Taxa on this Xin Zhao, Madly on the Viego, if they buy Ninja Tabbies, and obviously they can cause a ton of disruption, Indecision and Babe Roar just might not be able to do anything for such a long period of time that by the time they do hit their scaling windows and they can overcome that, you know, they bought penetration, Trick could well just have won the game.
And also you got to keep in mind is you've got this Varus. If he lands one good arrow onto someone like Babe Roar Indecision and Unleash Power, probably will just seal the deal as we get later into the game. So you can kind of take away one of those carries, or at least burn, you know, the ultimate from Indecision. As Wixo just going to eat a lot of damage to start us off as he went for a Glitter Lance, and ultimately that is going to be him having a rough laning phase now.
Yeah, just repeat that several times and then eventually you'll get the kill. Then you have to be a little bit respectful. Obviously they leashed their jungler, so they will be a little bit behind in terms of pressure at first, and the level 2 will be hit first by Granit. But I mean, there's so much all-in threat from this bot lane 2v2 that Granit really have to be concerned whenever the levels are even.
Granit going to be able to shove this wave in. Level 2's there, but Denvox is lucky. Not even going to give him the opportunity to jump and trade positively. So they've now hit their level 2s as well, and that is probably just going to be it for now. The side of Granit. You know, they're just going to have to sit back and farm as we turn our attention a little bit more towards the top lane. The Zero. Obviously, on the Ornn, you do pretty much expect to play the weak side, but Madly's going to be able to build up a massive wave and shove it into his Zero. That means Madly can now just move around the map, maybe play some vision, try and spot out Indecision on his jungle camps, although there are no camps available for him to take right now.
Yeah, we've actually seen Indecisions. So a lot of the time we see junglers skip a camp. Less like the hyper fast clearers, but normally you do 5 camps at a scuttle. And Taxa gonna be leaving his Gromp up when he goes for this. We actually see Indecision skipping his Raptors in the scenario, and he won the coin flip.
Oh,
you know, he's got the mark at the bottom of the map. He won the coin flip.
There it is. Indecision gets himself the crab. That's mark number 1. Typically, it is that 4 mark. I don't want to say mark. Looking for 4 marks is typically what you want on the Kindred. That's your kind of major spike. Anything from there is kind of a bonus. So We'll keep a good track on a decision on his marks. I'm assuming he's got Taxa marked at the moment. So, don't think he's going to be able to be finding a kill on him quite yet. As Taxa actually looking to steal away this chicken camp, so he's going to go for a bit of a reset.
Yeah, and I feel like this is kind of a missed opportunity for Tricked in this scenario. So, Paulson had priority in lane, and that leaves an ample opportunity to just walk over, throw a ward down at Raptors. You get a ton of information.
Oh,
I'll hold that thought. See what happens here.
They're going to jump in. They've used the CC, and Decision's going to make his way forward in his first blood
Wasn't even
for
hard.
the Kindred in the top lane. There's Lucky maybe looking for Wixo. Wix has to flash away, but now Polymorph slowed, and he's going to take a lot of damage, but the Hail of Arrows actually has to slow Babe Brawl, so he can't get in range to get another couple of autos in.
All right, so a lot of mistakes coming out from Tricked here, actually. So first off, Paulson had priority in lane, and something we often see when that happens is you put a ward down on the Raptor camp early. Granit didn't do that. They didn't have the information. And so Taxa, when he eventually did go over there and place a ward, he saw the Raptors, but he wasn't in a position to contest it. If they had that information earlier, they could have stolen away those Raptors, put themselves in a good spot. And then we also...
Oh, this
that's
is
the whole
big.
thought again. We're seeing a dive.
They got the teleport, though. They're bringing in the backup. Royal Cannon's also in. They're trying to jump away. Lucky, very, very low, but he's going to be able to survive as Wixo locked in for the moment. The cleanse is used by Babe Brawl. Here's his hero. Taking out Den Voxney. Now they're jumping into Taxa. The free talent strike, not going to be enough as Royal Cannon will secure that kill. And it has gone oh so wrong for the side of Tricked, as the scatter the weak will only scatter Paulson. His zero will secure the kill. And Lucky's being chased by Indecision. It's just been a murder, a horror scene for the side of Tricked.
Well, this game is going vastly different to what we expected, and Tricked completely botching this play and the early game. So this dive, very overforced. Royal Cannon's following. There's no reason he has to stay mid. We get a TP from Hezero. Madly isn't matching it as well. And they go for this dive against a Lulu who has the polymorph, which is a great tool. Just the setup isn't really there. They get over greedy, they commit to the play, and they get punished.
Yeah, it's a lot of kills going into the Ornn as well, where, you know, he's playing weak side. Now that he's 2-0-2, he's going to be pretty chill. He's going to be quite happy just being able to soak up the pressure. He's got the Bramble and the Balmy Cinder. So, you know, he's pretty comfortable right now. He's going to be able to absorb the pressure from Madly in this lane. And ultimately, it's not cost him much. He lost 8 CS. Not even a tower plate for that. Madly held his teleport, didn't come in, didn't think it was necessary. And this is now a pretty rough state of the game to be, where you got a 2-0-0 Kindred. I'm not sure if Indecision actually was able to find himself a mark, however. So there might at least be some positives to take away. I know he got a mark. He's got 2 marks now.
Yeah, able to pick up one for that skirmish, I believe. But I think we can talk a bit about what Tricked could have done better. So firstly, when they went for that move towards bot lane, they could have just stayed in the fog of war. I'm never getting a chance to talk.
You're not going to talk this game. Madly, low heart is broken, as he's going to go back to his tower, back to his base with his tail.
Now I get my chance to
Go, talk, quick.
Yeah, so Tricked, they moved their mid and jungle. They could have just stayed in the fog of war, cleared out vision. They could have set a trap for Royal Cannon, who wanted to follow, and they could have potentially punished him. They could have just leaned over and seen if Granit's bot lane reacted. But instead, they just steamrolled straight towards the play. No setup, no plan. They was just, we're going to kill them on a tower. And as a result, Granit able to punish. And again, another mistake we saw was that earlier death from Madly to the gank. Because that information wasn't there, we talked a little bit about Paulson not having that ward on the Raptors. I don't know if they didn't know where Indecision was, or if... I don't know if they didn't know. It was just Madly being disrespectful. But ideally, he should have pushed in, bounced the wave, let it crash back into him. And then he would have been in a position where he wouldn't have been able to get ganked. And I feel like we've seen like countless mistakes in this early game from Trick, and they've all added up to this 5-0 lead coming out from Granit. And, you know, I was critical of the Granit comp. I'm like, I don't know, you know, there's a lot of, are you going to get to the late game? There's concerns if your Kindred falls behind. You might be waiting a long time for your spikes because you're full AD comp, essentially. But if you're ahead, a lot of those concerns just go out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. And now they're going to go get the resets, looking towards these items, and curious to see how much more the Kraken Slayer Babe Brawl is going to get on this base. It's actually cancelled that reset for now. As there is a mark on the chicken camp, and looks like they're not going to be able to pick that one up, as Indecision's on the top side of the map, and maybe thinking about either mid or this crab. Lucky's also roamed over. Because they are just looking to try and pressure themselves some mid-priority. As Paulson does get a little bit of damage off onto Wixo. Wixo actually takes a lot of damage as Lucky's been jumped onto. He has to jump over the wall. It's Indecision doing some serious work on the Kindred right now.
Yeah, you really have to respect the Kindred in this scenario. A lot of damage, and Lucky on the rail able to just fly over the wall. But now, Granit, even though it's even numbers, a big factor as we look towards the bot lane, Babro gets priority in this 1v1 matchup. He's able to roam up towards this side of the map. And now, Granit, have a numbers advantage on the top side. Babro doesn't even stay. He starts moving back towards bot. But Trick know they can't contest this, because if they do, they would be in a numbers disadvantage, and they're already down in gold. So Herald secured for Granit. Has 0 with that extra gold injection, really far ahead in items, able to bully his lane out. And Granit, just everything's going right for them.
Yeah, this is exactly what Granit needed. And, you know, well, it's kind of not what they needed, but they'll take it. They just needed to not fall behind early, and then they were probably going to be pretty good later. But they just got ahead early, so even better. Best case scenario right now for the side of Granit is on Trick to find a way to pull it back. It's not like they're going to be completely useless as we do move later into the game. It's not like, you know, we're looking at like a Cogmore Lulu and like a Cassidin and things like that. There's not always as Paulson, I think you might be dead. Ooh, Cannon flashes to follow to secure the kills. Madly, don't think he's going to be able to chase for any more.
Yeah, it's too slow. And Rokanin finding a nice window. We actually see Indecision, Scuttle Crab on the horizon. This should be his 3rd stack, I believe. He's able to pick that one up. Guess not.
Now just going to let us...
Yeah,
it's alive.
No.
It's alive. Let's have a look at the fight.
Yeah, so, I mean, really nice flash just to follow with the W. It's one of the situations where you have to flash so late on Syndra to be able to avoid that when they have flash too. Very hard. Essentially, because Pulse was caught out, essentially you're already dead.
Indecision going to be able to pick up this crab here. No problem for him. And that is mark number 3, I believe, like you said. Now finished up onto him. So he is closing in. Yep. On that kind of big power spike. And we're only 11 minutes in. That's quite early for him to be, you know, picking up this many marks. This is really good for him.
Especially in the context of this draft, when we had concerns about the early game coming out. Things have been going pretty well for Granit. And I feel like there have been missteps from Tricked. And I think Granit have been punishing those. I don't think this... It's not like Granit have gone super aggressive and been like, we're finding these windows. We're starting the game off. They've sort of been defensive, but Trick's missteps has allowed them to benefit in this scenario. So good to see. And again, it sort of leans into those later stages where a lot of these champions on Trick's side, when they're behind, become pretty weak overall. I mean, look at this Viego. You just have to flash away from an Ornn.
Underneath this tower as well, like... Man, that is scary for Madly right now. Has got Taxa in the area, so Taxa might try and make his way up here. There is that 4th mark on the Gromp, and Indecision's jumping over.
Oh no, Indecision.
He wants it.
He'll get...
The Call of the Forge gone. He doesn't even care. They're looking for the assassination. The 3-point strike is going to be enough, and that is the kill. They've got the Lamb's Respite to buy some space, to buy some time, as Indecision has to be oh so careful. Going to eat a lot of damage here, and the shutdown is gifted to Paulson.
You know, honestly, I don't think that play is even that bad for Granit. The shutdown going over, obviously a bit of a pain point, but we do see the 4th stack picked up by Indecision. And because Trick moved their members over, we actually see Demvoxne and Lucky rotated towards mid to cover. Abro's getting some alone time with the plates. So 1 for 1, and you're getting some plates on your AD carry, and you get the 4 stack and Kindred. I think Granit's still happy.
Yeah, like when you look at it that way, actually, absolutely worth for the side of Granit. You know, they've still got themselves the 2,000 gold lead. Dragon is up. It's only a Cloud Dragon, so it might not be the most important for them to take. And Babro might be able to secure himself first turret blood here. Decides to back away as Madly is going to try and catch up the remnants of this wave.
Not enough of a wave, and it gets a bit tanky at this point. But, you know, you got priority in the bot lane. Paulson just TP'd top side and, you know, isn't going to be able to return anytime soon. You have TP on Hesero. Granit can feel pretty confident in this situation. They're probably just going to throw the Herald down as it's about to time out. And because Babro set it up 2 plates to kill, they don't even need to do anything for this Herald. It's going to take the tower, they're just going to secure it, and you can see Trick just in a really rough position.
And there it is, 610 gold injected into Babro. At least for Trick, they're not going to be able to worrying about this Rift Herald taking any damage off their tier 2, because remember, those tier 2s are worth more gold than they used to be on previous patches. But for now, it's going to be the Dragon pickup. That's number 2, and we're looking at an Ocean Soul this game as well. Not overly the worst souls for them to be getting.
I think a way we often looked at Granit was they had that really good run earlier in the split, right? And the kind of expectation of them there was, you know, this is a team who, when they lean into the team fights, can be really strong. You know, they had the Babe Raw Jinx. They felt like maybe the strategy was one-dimensional, and when it stopped working, they kind of fell apart. But this feels like Granit have taken the time, and they're able to come out here. It's not really about the champs they're picking as much, but they've been pretty good at just sort of nullifying the plays from Tricked. And then also they've been setting their own plays up as they got the goal lead in this game. So it's pretty good to see. And right now, Tricked are kind of in a hole. They're kind of in a pretty big deficit, and things are problematic. Now, I think a key thing to think about here is, you know, trading cross map is obviously a valuable thing to do when you're behind. Finding numbers advantages is a valuable thing to do when you're behind. But Granit haven't really opened up any windows yet, so it's kind of on Trick to find them.
Well, the Rift Tail spawning up in a few seconds' time. Maybe we might see some action around there, because it feels like Trick, you know, they're starting to roll over a little bit. And when we see teams roll over in the NLC, typically what happens is that's when the gold lead really balloons, because they just give up every objective, every little bit they can potentially contest. And you know, it starts to get a bit worrying, as it's actually the Eclipse build here for Denvoxney. So not the Duskblade like we saw in the last game. A little bit of a different one.
Yeah, I guess get that extra sustain. Not sure how fairly valuable it is here. But Granit kind of, again, not playing this one too aggressively, taking their time with it. They're getting mid-priority here, and they'll be able to lean towards the Herald. And Tricked are pretty aware they can't contest this. So I think they're now looking towards a lean on the other side. If they can trade this Herald for that first tower, potentially even push it up to the tier 2, then they would actually be okay with this scenario. They kind of need to act fast, because they only have a little bit of time as Granit are doing this Herald. If they're slow on this play, they will lose out. And here's actually a big interaction. This is a Rel into set. If Rel Q's set, you just eliminate the shield instantly.
Oh, yeah, you're true. That is something actually we did used to see a few times. As Zero teleports into the bot lane just to save the day here for his mid laner. As Chains of Corruption will land onto Indecision, and the spread actually to Babe Roll, so not going to eat that, as the charge should come through here from the Herald, and it's going to do a fair amount of damage to the tower, but not going to be able to kill it. And I like nice play there by Denvoxney, to be honest, to be able to kind of save that.
Yeah, and Granit don't really get... They get the Herald, they get some damage on mid, but overall, Trick kind of handling that one okay. The TP from Hasura comes in, and I like the decision to instantly disengage. Set is a hard target to die by any means, especially if there's an Ornn coming in. So I like the decision to back off. And again, they're able to defend mid. It's kind of a rushed Herald from Granit, and I talked a little bit about this in game 1. With the new extra gold on those tier 2 towers in the side lane, I don't think just throwing a Herald down mid is as valuable as it used to be. You know,
yeah,
taking down mid tier 1, that was a priority. Mid is the sort of super important lane. But now that those tier 2s are so valuable, I think you can get a lot more out of a Herald. And I think that was a bit of a rushed placement. Like, they saw Trick to a bot, and they're like, okay, well, let's throw this down quickly. We can sort of capitalize. But in reality, Denvoxney was there to cover. Trick were already moving away. It was just, you know, a bit of a misstep. And it's not necessarily bad for Granit, just it could have been better, you know?
And we're now 2.3k up for the side of Granit. And one thing I want to kind of reiterate, and well, we haven't actually talked about, but the actual standings of these teams over in Group A. Tricked are 8-3 right now in this group. Granit on the other end are 3-8. They have not had a particularly great split so far. And to find a win here over one of the top teams in the group, remember this group here is the XL group, so you've got a fair few big players here, and if you can find a win here, first of all, it makes relegations less likely to happen, because you just put yourself, you know, into that kind of middle of the pack area. But also at the same time, you know, you can really play to upset the apple cart here. We're not out of the runnings for any of these teams to make it to playoffs yet. They can all still make it.
This setup coming in for Dragon now. Right out the ones who've got control of the area. And it's kind of on Trick to push in, but that's a TP flank coming in from Royal Canin.
Yeah, I think Lucky might just be dead here. His face is broken, and Indecision will find himself the kill. Nothing Trick we're going to be able to do about that one, as they're going to try and re-grab this mid wave. Don't really want to lose too much here, but ultimately, it's going to be a trade of a tier 1 in the top side for the 3rd dragon. Ocean Soul 1 away now for the side of Granit, and with the fact they got that charge off, they should be able to pretty easily take this mid lane turret as well with the help of Babraw, as Indecision just finishes up the dragon.
Yeah, and I think in this scenario, maybe the mistake was trying to contest the dragon on this side, but they're kind of forced to. You actually see a dive on the top side, which I believe is going wrong.
Yeah, Royal Cannon actually just able to survive it, but there's a dive going on the bot side. We'll see if this goes right. They find the knock-up, and that is going to be madly going down to Indecision. And here's these new towers worth all this extra gold over to the side of Granit. Look at the amount of cash they all got, 183 gold each.
Yep, and I like this play coming out from Granit. You have the control from the dragon in the area already. You sacrifice your top side, but because Royal Canin is so hard to dive, you don't even actually lose your top lane tower. You don't even actually lose Royal Canin. You're able to defend in that scenario, and the rest of the team can push through and take that tier 2 and get a massive reward out of that one. Madly on this Diego.
Oh,
really not having a good game so far.
Hey, bro, that was a little bit too hypey.
Hey, it's fine, you know. What's a flash between friends?
Oh, Indecision's coming in, though, onto the flank, looking for potentially Den Voxing. Remember, the chains have been used, and it's actually Lucky who's going to be pulled in by the Magnet Storm. Indecision has himself the ultimate, but he doesn't even pop it in time. Down he goes. Wixer has the wild growth himself as the Unleashed Power won't steal the deal. The Scout of the Week only hits onto his Zero. He's able to survive. He's able to get away, but they catch out the Spectral Maw on to his Zero to land a stun. He charges away to safety as the tier 1 in the mid lane will fall for the side of Tricked.
Yeah, and Granit kind of fumbling this a little bit. You know, they have Royal Canin in the side lane. They don't have a full team strong. Tricked contest the mid. They know that the set is caught up on the other side, and they don't care. They don't care about that tier 1 tower at this point of the game. They would rather take the fight mid. And honestly, Indecision, Kindred flank, I'm not feeling it. I don't think it's the ideal play.
I mean, at least press your R. Like, you might need that.
Yeah, I think he got caught in the knockup by Lucky just as he was about to press it. But,
yeah,
you know,
I think he was holding it too long.
It was... Yeah, playing it too close to the wire, but also just, you know, you weren't actually going to kill anyone there. Both Den Voxnay and Lucky had flashes. His target was Lucky. Lucky can just dismount to get away, and he has flash. So in that scenario, you're never killing them, ever. And I mean, I guess you can say, well, he's trying to burn the flash, but even then, like, it's just a very risky play to go for. You don't have the full setup from your team, and he does end up getting punished. And they're still ahead, and that dragon in 2.5 minutes could mean Soul. So definitely still in Granit's favor, but hasn't been a flawless game. I think to mention is I'll often talk about the strength of dragons for different teams. Ocean Soul, there's a lot of compositions where it's not actually that good because, you know, you have squishier members who can't really let the sustain kick in. Granit's team composition is a good composition to have Ocean Soul. You know, you have these beefy frontliners with a ton of health. They get so much value from the Ocean Soul because they survive long enough for the healing to kick in and start, you know, obviously, as well as that, they have a lot of resistances, so you get a lot of value in that sense too. The effective HP goes pretty out the window.
And it's also quite nice as well when you've got, you know, Lulu and Kindred to kind of buy time as well for your squishier members to survive and let that healing kick in. So, you know, overall, not a bad soul for them to be able to get their hands onto. Now, Indecision, leaning towards the top side of the map at the moment, was expecting maybe some shenanigans onto Royal Cannon, but Royal Cannon not going to be falling victim to any ganks here. And this mid lane tower is still up for the side of Trick, so this is a good thing for them. They were able to take the mid lane for Granit, which means waves can get caught in different positions. You can see Granit playing quite far back now, playing quite safe as this kind of Trick death ball is just rotating around the map, looking for gank opportunities, looking for pick opportunities. But remember, you got double AD carry. Like, Baron Nashor actually is potentially quite a quick take here for the side of Granit, so Trix can't really sleep on this too much.
Yeah, and that's why Trix went for that move where they established the vision around Baron. Then they move mid, find priority, then they move into the dragon. Instantly, we saw Granit answer and like kind of sweep out that vision, so it keeps the Baron alive as a threat. And now actually, Trix are in a pretty bad position because they haven't reset. Lucky has no wards, by the way, and Granit are just coming fresher for resets. They just spent all their gold. You have a full set of wards for Wick, so if this vision gets swept out by Granit, then Tricked are in a bit of a poor spot. So they have to disband their dragon vision here because if it goes, they ain't getting it back.
Well, it looks like actually Granit might just be giving this one up. Deciding they don't really want to actually hang around and contest it, as Indecision does eat a light arrow. Just did a bit of poke damage there.
They can give this up. They don't need to take it, but I think they're looking for a flank scenario here. This is a bit of a deep one from Royal Canin, and with the mid tower being up, they could just back away, but I don't think they've spotted him yet.
Yeah, he's trying to make his way through. He's in the fog of war right now.
This is so
the scan
big.
of the week's not going to hit on enough members. And here is Royal Canin, the flash, the showstopper. And Poulsen will lose his life. The shutdown is secured onto the side of Indecision. And they're looking for a little bit more. As in goes Taxa, a beautiful Lamb's Respite to keep the squishier team members alive. While his Zero and Royal Canin can just soak up everything else. Indecision going to have a quick honey fruit just to heal himself back up. And Taxa now has to be a little bit careful because Indecision capable of doing a lot of damage. As the arrow from Denvoxney will just go a little bit between the goalposts and not quite land onto who they need it to, as Madly has to charge up the Spectral more to escape, but a lot of damage from Lucky's coming in. Indecision's going to lose his life to Denvoxney, and now the forms are getting stolen. Lucky jumps in with a Magnet Storm. Royal Canin trying to find himself a kill. The Face Breaker will not seal the deal yet, but they're able to finally find it, and Baybrook can start resetting through this fight. But Taxa, he's not done. He's flashing in. Wixo has to jump out, but they're going to try and find the kill off the Taxa, and onto another one. The teleports are coming in. Taxa's going to lose his life, and Baybrook is just resetting. He's jumping. Poulsen has respawned and teleported back into the fight. The Scatter the Weak not going to hit onto the members yet, though, as Hizero and Wixo are just bolting, are running for the wind, as Baybrook will lose his life to Denvoxney. As Wixo looks at the turnaround, the Scatter the Weak will stop him, and they get the wild growth off. This team fight is mental. It's just not ending. Hizero is out.
Absolute chaos in this team fight, and the critical member from Tricked is this Varus. It honestly felt like he was the sole carry in that scenario, because the fight very well could have been over if he hadn't landed some critical poke onto the backline of Granit. DP's coming in. I don't think that Trick can stay around for this one. They do have another member coming. Actually, it seems like they'll be a little bit quick on the map because Baybrook died so late. Granit have to back off.
Yeah, Granit are going to look to back away. It's a Zero. They need a lot of damage here, and the Dragon's still up and alive, but Trick should be able to finish this one off. That's the Dragon over to the side of Tricked, as Baybrook, yep, like you said, got killed a little bit too late, and he wasn't respawned. He wasn't back on the map in time.
So we can watch this fight. Poulsen goes down very early because, I mean, what can you do here realistically? But look at this poke coming in from the Varus onto Indecision and Baybrook, and these repeated arrows make it very difficult for the Granite backline actually to do anything. And remember, we talked about how this was a 2-carry composition and how all Denvoxney had to do was hit those critical members with the arrows, and the comp kind of falls apart. Again, another one there. Indecision down, 1 carry gone. Unfortunately, Granite have enough gold that they're still able to find an advantage in this situation, despite the fact it's only Baybrook. But these constant arrows coming through, and also when Baybrook steps too far, it becomes very difficult for them to carry out this fight and win favorably, despite the gold advantage.
It just went on so long that Poulsen was able to respawn and teleport back into it. Wixo somehow able to survive this thanks to the wild growth, but it was a crazy fight.
Wixo was one who wild growth has 0.
Sorry, yeah. Both got O's at the end of their names. Looks like Baron's actually going to get kind of DPS checked here by the side of Granit. It's very quick. It's very, very quick, but great stun by Poulsen lands onto Wixo. And remember, now they've got Royal Canin tank here. They've already been pretty heavily chunked out as Denvoxney finds a brilliant arrow onto Indecision. And they're going to walk away. That was risky as hell.
It's so difficult. You're on red side, so you're kind of corralled into the pit. For some reason, your tanks aren't there tanking. So, you know, yeah, you're taking damage onto your critical carries, and then 1 arrow is enough for you to go, yep, we regret this decision. Denvoxney, 4-1 now. He's pretty fed. And he realistically, if he lands the right arrows at the right time, he can carry this game. I think the plan there was maybe they wanted to start it up because Madly wasn't there and had no TP, but I even think the 4-mana Trick is strong enough to kind of dissuade you. Realistically, yeah. Granite, I don't think you can just start a Baron without a pick. So unless you're really going to look for an aggressive pick.
It was quick.
Yeah, it's probably best at this point just to wait for the next Dragon. Maybe you can toy around with finding a pick if someone from Tricked oversteps. But the most part, yeah, I don't think you risk it.
But the scary thing about that, if you are Tricked, was how quick that went down. They've got 2 full Wormfallen sacrifices on Baybrook and Indecision now, so they're upgraded. Infinity Edge has now been finished up for Baybrook as well, and that IE pretty close for Indecision. If Tricked commit too many members towards that top bot side to get the next Dragon, Granit will honestly burst through that Baron oh so quickly. This is the power of those double AD carries, and I think the game plan right now for Granit is actually just to try and catch the Trick members sleeping a little bit here. His Indecision trying to clear out some of this vision. Does have to be somewhat careful.
Yeah, and they're trying to bait them in so they can potentially find an engage or a flank. Royal Canin, particularly, has been pretty on point with these TP flanks. There isn't really a ward in position to act on it now. They're hoping they move further forwards. But I think that the problem is if Granit are really secure in their Baron, then there would be more reason for Trick to move forwards. Because I know it's fast, but it's so scary if you're trapped in that pit that Granit aren't really willing to start up the Baron in these scenarios. They'll pretend to, like this, but they won't actually go into the process of starting it. And so Trick, they can very slowly approach the area.
Well, they're looking for Madly. He's going to eat so much burst to start us off. Here's the call of the Force God to land a knock up onto Madly. He's already lost most of his health bar.
Look at Indecision.
As they look for the arrows, it's going to spread onto his Hero. The Unleashed Power hits him as well as that final up arrow, but that's the tank who ate all of that. He's fine to do so as Royal Canin now receiving a little bit of damage. That's Serodal's Grudge and that slow being very impactful.
I mean, this is the problem though. They do that setup. They sort of bait for the vision. They go for the engage on a Madly. Yes, they get his ult, but they also burn Hezira's ult. And then one arrow hits Indecision. I was like, okay, you know, both teams have a chunked member. I guess we both can't fight. And then the cycle starts again. Yeah. And at this point, I think they've accepted they weren't going to make that Baron play work, and for good reason. So now the setup is going towards this dragon. The reset, maybe a little bit slow. A critical thing to think about is top lane, pushing in for Tricked. That tower's threatened. You can even see Royal Canin moving over. Bot lane, Hezira's having to answer. And so because of all this wasted time by Granit, Tricked are actually the ones who get into the dragon, sort of the dragon area, the river first. And all that Voxney has to do is answer this wave. And Granit are so scared of face check because the two people who they want to face check, Hezira and Royal Canin, they're not there. Hezira's only just arrived, so Tricked have positioning advantage here.
Zero has the chains on his inventory, so that CC is going to last a lot when you got the brittle as well. As chains actually do land from Voxney. They go for the knock up, and Indecision looks to jump away.
Goodbye.
Voxney just one-shots Wix though. I swear poke champions are balanced, and it looks like Baron might just be the answer out here. They're going to try and trade the dragon as they're pulling Taxa away. And the Baron needs to get started up fairly soon because Tax is going to be able to do it. And it looks like they're just calling it off here for the moment as Paulson looks to try and check into the bush, sees the two tanks are there. They feel safe in the fact that this Baron's not getting done. And Taxa, half elf onto the dragon, should just be able to finish this one up. So they may just lose their tier 2 mid for all of this.
Yeah, and this is the thing is they're so scared to start the Baron. Even though it's fast, even though they have tanks, then Voxney is literally just such a massive threat. The rest of the team are honestly just side characters because he is literally making this game difficult for Granit single-handedly. We talked a little bit about this. When you have a limited amount of carries, you know, you don't have those bruises we see on other teams. We don't have things like the Viego, the Xin Zhao, that can be sort of threats in their own sense. If then Voxney lands one good arrow onto Indecision, that's half your damage essentially out of the fight. If he lands a good one on a Babe Roar, half your damage out of the fight. And you have to be so concerned. They don't even have to play around the front line. You know, Granit won that front to back where the enemy team hits the front line and the back line can hit the enemy team's front line. But the problem is, Trick don't need to even do that. They just poke. They don't even need to hit your front line. They just ignore them. They fire past them. And as a result, we see that second dragon picked up by Trick. You know, that gold lead that was pretty substantial in the early game. At this point of the game, 2,500 gold lead, it's not really that big of a deal. And Trick finding a lot of windows in this one.
In such a good position right now to be able to pull this back as Granit need to find that pick. They need to find that opportunity to make these plays happen as teleport is available to Royal Canin. Indecision just looking to clear out the vision, and it is just a battle of the Baron vision right now. No dragons spawning up, and I mean Hezira is pretty tanky, so he is doing a pretty decent job of, you know, eating up Voxney's damage from this Varus.
Ooh, and actually this is pretty big brain, so I assume... Okay, I'm going to hold up though. I think we're setting up for a fight. Royal Canin's flanking here.
Here he goes. Call of the Forge God's going to land onto Voxney. That's the target they need to kill. Stopwatch instantly burn out. Taxa can take a lot of damage. Voxney flashes away to safety. Lucky will lose his life through a decision as Taxa could be next up. Madly's trying to jump in, but he's been jumped up and knocked up himself. Flashing away to safety as the Unleashed Power lands onto his hero. The Land's Respite will save the day for Indecision as they find themselves a kill onto the support for support at the end of the day. That is going to be all she wrote there as Paulson does need to be a little bit careful. Scatter the Weak is going to land, but here's Indecision. They're just going to pull him over the face breaker. He has to use the stopwatch, and Indecision's heavily chunked out, so he now jumps away. Baybro is being hunted, though, by Taxa. Zero's making his way in, and Indecision tries to get away. A great buster shot by Baybro will save his life, as here comes his Zero, but he is all alone. He is all isolated, as Baybro's flashing forward, trying to find the resets, trying to find the kill. The chains of corruption will start to spread, and then Voxney ripping through the health bar, but Baybro secures the triple kill.
Huge plays coming out from Granit. I love the initial TP flank, and then they go for it again with Hestero. You can see they want to do this Baron, but they're so scared of the Varus. You do see, though, that Voxney has reset, but look how tentative they are. They're so concerned about an arrow flying over the wall, but they will eventually commit to it. Wixo's looking for Voxney, but obviously, as we know with our superior point of view, that he has already reset. And finally, after all this time, Granit get the fight that they want.
What I really like, and we're going to the replay, was this great flank by Royal Cannon. I'm not sure who his Zero's chains are on, but I'm assuming it's Voxney.
Yeah, I think it connects and then it spreads around. Oh, the Anathema's chain. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the chains.
Because with the Brittle, Brittle extends CC duration.
Yeah,
and then chains reduce tenacity. Like, you're actually stunned for so long.
I was going to talk about this. I'll kind of highlight that after the replay, because we got this a little bit more, and this is where Tricked overstepped. A critical thing is all their summoners are basically being burned, and they're still looking for this play. One of the big things that will limit a team like Granit is when the enemy team has summoners, it's very hard to find these favorable fights. But here, the flank comes in, none of those flashes are available because they've just been used, and people start going down because, obviously in that prior fight, we saw Voxney survive because he had the flash. Now, I don't know who the change is on, but again, I'm not sure I get a chance to talk about it.
I get the feeling it's Voxney, but here's the call of the Forge God from Hezero. They're looking for Madly. He's knocked up. Indecision with a perfect Lamb's Respite to eat all of the CC, all of the damage, and they find themselves a rampage kill as that arrow just chunks through Wixo, but the tier 2 will go down. Second arrow not going to hit onto Wixo, and even with the Baron, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to hang around for too much longer, because Voxney really starting to hurt people here.
I mean, I think they're looking towards this dragon anyway. They do want to secure the Ocean Soul. Definitely helps against that
Watch the arrow.
A lot of damage.
Soul's going to be really helpful to be able to kind of keep up with the sustain. If the teleport's coming in, they've still got 20 seconds until it's a 5v5. So a little bit of time for Granit to work with. Is trying to just dodge away as much poke from Voxney as possible, but he's got pretty good mana because of that Mirror mana.
No TP on Diego, by the way. He just respawns soon, but he's not going to get there. It's all down to the poke from Voxney here, if he can ward them away, but this is just gone.
Not going to get in. That's the Soul secured. Arrow comes in from Voxney. It might just be enough to shut this fight down. The Call of the Forge God only knocks up Lucky as his hero uses that Searing Charge to get away. A great Glitter Lance from Wixo to slow down the advance of the front line. And Granit going to be able to get away.
Yeah, I mean, they got the pick. They got a good setup for it. They secured the Ocean Soul, which is massive. Finally, okay, now we can talk about the Anathema's chains, okay? I think if our observer targets the person who we suspect is targeted by it, then we can see the debuff. I've been told that's the way to spot it. So, yeah.
So we can see who he's got it on. Because is there any visual
clue? It is Voxney, yeah, it's got the little icon. So I'm not sure I agree with this. Because I know the CC landing long is cool, and I know he's poking a lot, but Hestero isn't really getting damaged that much by him anyway. What I thought is, if you look at his build, he's basically full armor. The only AP on Tricked is Paulson. You actually saw that last fight. Hestero got focused by Paulson and took a lot of damage. If you use the item onto the Syndra, then that essentially negates the majority of the AP damage from Tricked. And you have plenty of armor. So there's scenarios like that where the item is really valuable, but either way, we're talking about that a bit much. It does definitely limit the effectiveness of Voxney dealing with Hestero. But again, he's not aiming for Hestero. If he hits him, that's incidental. He's aiming for these carries, and he needs to do so more than ever because that Ocean Soul, that sustain is there, and Granit are looking to push up and apply that pressure.
Oh, Wixo, what are you doing there, my friend? Madly's looking to jump into it. Wixo gets a good heal off, and the slam is coming down. Madly, Heartbreaker's over the wall, but Taxa trying to jump away. The chains land in onto Indecision, but he's going to be able to get away as a big arrow connects onto Royal Cannon. And that was maybe a little bit closer than it needed to be. Wixo very greedily stepping up.
Yeah, bit of an interesting Lulu face check. saw a lot of Alistair from Wixo early in the season. I think that's a champion you can do that with. Lulu, not so much. Yeah, thought he was on Alistair, thought he was playing a cow, but no. Does manage to survive. They do manage to ward them off. And again, at this point, it's kind of hard for Granit to really do more. They try to apply that pressure and get that tier 2 on the top side. I think now they're looking for resets. It's a minute 40 till the Baron, so gives you ample time. And actually, what I like to see is here from Royal Cannon, he's pushing in that bot wave. He has the TP available. He'll be able to rotate up or TP in, you know, either or. And then because that wave's in the side lane, you can see already Madly has to move down. And I'm going to say TPing in as Royal Cannon, a lot more impactful, I feel, just with that instant engage potential.
Absolutely. The ability to pick up either Poulsen or Denvoxney, launch them into a position they don't want to be in, and just watch them get absolutely liquefied. Babel's almost full build now as well.
I think Madly wins this 1v1 though, so I think he would be fine chilling here. I know he's 0-6, but he's 3 items against Royal Cannon's 3 items. I know Royal Cannon has a chain burst and a stopwatch, but I think with these, Royal Cannon actually has to respect him. So
I actually know what the upgraded strike breaker is called.
Ankle breaker?
Leg breaker, yeah, I was about to say that. Obs, could you give us a quick hover over? Dream Shatterer.
I preferred...
Ankle breaker would have been
Dream
a better
Shatter,
one.
not Shatterer. It's a Shatter.
Oh, Shatter. Yeah,
I preferred Ankle breaker, honestly.
Yeah, I think Ankle breaker is probably the better name.
Yeah, but you know, whatever. Walking in, playing a little bit reserved here. They do have some wards deeper in this side of the jungle, so Trick has to be very careful when pushing up. And I like this mid lane ward that comes down because, again, if the contest comes in from Trick, they have to push forward, and we've seen how threatening these flanks can be.
Oh, it's actually Madly on the flank, but not going to be able to land himself the Spectral Maw. But Hezero spotted out by this wards, though.
They haven't.
It might just be go time for the turnaround. Royal Cannon may just look to throw them in. There's the call of the forward squad. Then Boxley throws out the chains, and instantly Madly has to jump over the wall. A lot of damage could come in. Indecision is very, very low. It's going to be able to put the ultimate out in time. Him and Wixo inside as the healing is coming in. Wixo able to survive. They find themselves the shutdown as Paxa launches back in. Hezero jumps away to safety, and Granit, they have been routed. They have been destroyed in the mid here, and they're going to have to back away as Baron is on the map and is probably on the menu here for Tricked.
It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're finding the engage, if they catch someone out, if Voxney hits an arrow. Okay, I guess Tricked win the fight. He is doing so much damage, and again, it's so easy in this game to know who you have to prioritize. You hit one of these Fisher targets, the fight is basically over already. Baron secured here by Trick. They're going to be able to reset and get back on the map for that Elder Dragon as well. And this game is basically, does Denvoxney hit someone? If yes, great for Trick. And I mean, just watch this moment. The ult connects, and actually Wixo and Babros stay in range to get tethered up. That arrow does so much there. And then the repeated damage coming out on a Wixo, they just have to back away. And you see this situation where Rolkanen, he's left in the middle of 4. No assistance comes out for the team because they can't walk up. And the range discrepancy is a massive factor here. Typically, Poke Varus, you know, people talk about how the lethality falls off later in the game. I think with Serelda's grudge itemization being so good, and also just the fact that the range is such a massive factor, yeah, I've seen games where like Varus has more impact than a Senna late game, just because those arrows can interact from such a distance. And the problem is, Indecision and Babro, they have to be in auto range. And even though Tristana scales up with auto range, it just doesn't matter at this point in the game.
Lucky was heavily chunked there. Was able to get away to safety, but they're just barreling down the mid lane, and Lucky chunked out, but all it really takes is one arrow from Denvoxney to find just that much damage himself, as the flank is here. Zero looking for the call of the forward squad. Can he find Denvoxney? No, it's only Taxa, and the chains are going to shut them down massively. Royal Cannon going very, very low. Has the shield, has the wild growth. Teleport's coming in. Backup is here. Indecision looking for Lucky. Can't quite find the assassination off, as the unleashed power will connect. Indecision goes into the invulnerability, looking for Poulsen, trying to find the assassination, able to do so. Meanwhile, in the top side, the lockdown, the CC is just way too much. Babel's already dead. Indecision tries to rejoin in as Madly will be going down. Double kill, triple kill picked up for Indecision. The time being bought by his hero is absolutely enormous. They're going to flash forward, but the resurrection here from the GA is going to get forced out. His hero is dominating as he takes down the last member. Only one is going to be standing, and it's Denvoxney. Elder on the map. Teleport's getting used, and it looks like his hero is feeling this. He's going to get eaten up by the chains, but maybe trying to find a bit of a turnaround, as the arrow could just seal the deal. Able to jump away. Oh my lord.
with that one a bit. Not sure what the game plan was from Hezira there. You do realize Varus was still up, I would hope. But either way, they should be able to secure the Elder Dragon here. A very messy fight. Denvoxne, again, kind of the last bastion to keep his team alive. And this is another problem with these sort of 2 carry compositions. So there's 2 aspects to this fight. There's the bottom aspect with Indecision, and there's the top aspect with Babro here. So Indecision gets zoned out and targeted. And then on the other side, you see Trick all dive in onto Babro. Babro dies, Indecision was split off, and that's why initially Trick started to find favor in this fight. But when Indecision rejoins, they're able to reestablish, they're able to start to clean up. But I think it shows if one of your carries is hit by an arrow, caught out, split from the team, Granit really start to struggle. They're so reliant on those 2 in Indecision and Babro. And although they do end up cleaning that one in their favor and they get the Elder Dragon, it's still very scrappy.
And remember, Denvoxne held his GA. He does still have that. Rune Decision, his GA is on cooldown. Royal Cannon has got his, so, you know, there is at least that to work with. But at this point, a stopwatch has been finished up for Indecision. He needs that extra kind of moment of survivability available to him. But with the Elder on the side of Granit, they're actually just able to barrel through the mid and take this tower down and probably open up the inhibitor. Madly going to try and do his best as the Call of the Forge God's being thrown out. I'm looking for a bit of a trade here. But
this isn't a trade. This is not a good trade deal.
Questionable at best here. Madly can't find the stun. This might just be game. Granit might just have done it. The Nexus is going to get fired up here for the moment. The fight instantly breaks down. The Gift of the Elder doing oh so much work. Granit just walk through the front door and take themselves the win. 45 minutes on the clock. And that was a good game.
I am perplexed by that ending, honestly. Yeah, apparently Tricked haven't been reading the art of the deal, because that was just the worst trade deal I've seen. Enemy team is obviously going to be able to push faster. They got 2 attack speed based AD carries. That's something Granit's comp does really well. Yeah, and you still opt in to try and make it a base race. I guess maybe the desperation against the Elder Dragon. You're like, we're not going to win this anyway. But to be honest, I don't think the Elder Dragon was really that much of a factor in the fight Trick was winning. It was the piercing arrows coming through, and Elder Dragon doesn't change that necessarily. No. But either way, this was a very poor early game coming out from Tricked that kind of they managed to hold on to in the mid game. Denvoxne trying to 1v9 best he could. And I think that showed the weaknesses with Granit's composition. The gold lead was too big, the scaling kicked in, and Granit did manage to close it out.
Well, it was an absolutely superb game there for Granit, but it's time for us to throw to a break. And when we're back, we'll have the analyst desk to talk a little bit more about that game. So we'll see you in a moment.